Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to another video. I'm Sally and this is Secret Life of a Seamstress. I hope you're all really well and you're having a good week. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favourite types of videos to film, and it's a what I've been making video. So this is everything that I've been making in the last month, which is the month of June. This month was a bit of a strange month. I felt like I hadn't made anything for ages, and then at the end of the month, within the last week or so, I've made 3 or 4 things. So it was a bit of a funny kind of batch sewy kind of month, which is a bit unusual for me. But nevertheless, I got a few things made up. Lots of them were quite speedy makes, so they did come together quite quickly in the end. So I'm looking forward to sharing them all with you today. So as always, if you are new to my channel is all about sewing, lots of sewing content, lots of sewing chat, fabric hauls, sew alongs and things like that. I'd love you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you do enjoy this video, I'd love it if you could give it a big like at the end. And thank you so much for watching again. If you are a regular viewer of my channel, I really appreciate it. So just before I get started sharing what I've been making, I'll just let you know what I'm wearing today, just in case you're interested. And what I'm wearing today is the Yolanda blouse by Atelier Viscose 6. And this was actually gifted to me as part of a previous collaboration with Makerist. But this is such a lovely pattern, and it's a really good kind of blouse for summer. You can make it long sleeved or you can make it sleeveless like I have done. And it has this really pretty kind of yoke detail, I guess this is, round here with a frill, and it buttons down here. But there are lots of other versions of this blouse you can make as well. So if you do like the look of this pattern, I will link it below so that you can pop over and check it out. And we are actually having some sunshine here in Bedfordshire today, so it's a really good one for lovely summer weather. So on to what I've been making. So the first thing I finished this month, because I didn't actually start this in June, I finished it in the beginning of June, was my Lyra Dress by Tilly and the Buttons. So I'll just pop in an image of the pattern now so you can see what the dress looks like. And this is my finished version. And I went for the midi length version of this dress with the belt here at the waist and the kind of 2-tiered, very long skirt. So I absolutely love this pattern and I love my finished version of the dress. I'm really, really pleased with it. It was the first time I'd made a proper stand-up collar, so that was something new to learn, and it was really interesting to give that a go. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, and it did make me wonder why I'd put it off for so long actually, because I really enjoyed the sewing process. I won't talk too much about this dress because I do have a whole other video reviewing this pattern and talking more about how I found the make and the changes that I needed to make to the pattern and everything. So I won't talk about this too much today, but I will link my proper review video down below so that if you are interested in knowing more about how I made this dress and the changes and everything I need to make, then you can pop over and watch that afterwards. So my second make for the month was something I made in collaboration with Makerist. I worked with them again recently on their most recent $2 sale. So this is the t-shirt. It's going to be very difficult to show with me holding it, but I will pop in some images as always. So this is a different kind of t-shirt. It has a high neckline at the front, and then at the back it has a very scooped back version. So it's a really pretty pattern, and I'll just pop in an image of the pattern so that you can see how the model's wearing it. And I really liked the look of how the model was wearing it in the pattern, so I thought I would give it a go. And it was a really quick, speedy sew. I used a Viscose Jersey, which I picked up from Minerva back in their January sale. So I've had this for quite a while, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to link it, but I'll try to. This pattern calls for a really drapey jersey because obviously you need that drape for the kind of back scoop neck so they all hang really nicely. So the fabric was really well suited to this pattern, I thought. And I do really like how it's turned out. But I think when I came to wear this pattern, I did think, or I realised that the back was a bit too kind of daring and scooped for my liking, and it's quite difficult to wear a bra with it. And you do need to wear something underneath this because this fabric's a little bit see-through. So I think when I come to wear this t-shirt, which I definitely will because I do like it, I'm going to be wearing it off the shoulder rather than with the scooped back, which is absolutely fine. And obviously you can wear this t-shirt really how you like it. So the pattern actually comes with 2 options. There's a higher back or there's a really low scooped back, and I actually went for the higher back. And even though I did go for the high back, as I say, on me it's just that little bit too low. And it might be because I'm more on the petite side. I guess if you were taller, you wouldn't find it so low. So just something to kind of consider if you are thinking of trying this pattern. It is a really lovely pattern and I'd really like to make it again. But I think next time I make it, I'm definitely going to raise that back. So it comes more in line with the front neckline. And then I think I would have a really lovely kind of drapey summer t-shirt. So yeah, overall I do really like this pattern. I think the next time I make it, I just need to make a couple of alterations to suit my own personal style and how I feel comfortable wearing this garment. But yeah, that's the Herman tee by Sewing Machine Patterns. So the third thing I made this month was my frilly collar blouse hack, and this is something that I mentioned I wanted to try a couple of videos back when I was talking about things I'd like to try and make based on inspiration I'd seen on the high street. So I just pop in my inspiration picture so that you can see what I was trying to base this blouse on, and I'm so pleased with how this has turned out. I really enjoyed making this. So this is what it looks like. I hope you can see because the fabric is a little bit busy, but I'll just hold it up to the camera so that you can see how the frilly collar has turned out. So the way I made this in the end was I used the Avid Seamstress, the blouse pattern, and so I used that for the body of the blouse. So I used the back of the blouse and the two fronts. And then I just lowered the collar slightly by about 3 centimetres. So I lowered the neckline so it just came down a little bit lower at the front, because the original, the blouse pattern, comes up quite high because it has a mandarin collar, a stand-up kind of mandarin collar. So I just needed to lower that slightly so it was a little bit more flattering with this collar. And then I used the sleeves from the Friday Pattern Company Davenport dress, and I just shortened those so that they came up to elbow length, and I made them exactly as they are on the Davenport dress pattern with the elasticated cuff, and that worked really well. People have asked me in the past if when I change sleeves and add them to different patterns, if I ever redraft the armhole, and I have to say I haven't done that so far. The Davenport dress sleeve does have a little bit more gather at the top of the armhole than the normal Avid Seamstress the blouse sleeve does, so it's just got that little bit of gather there at the top, which you might be able to see. But I really like how that turned out, and I think it suits this blouse. So yeah, I didn't make any changes at all. If there was a bit more gather in the sleeve, I just kind of had it a little bit more ruched up at the sleeve than it would have been normally, and I think that's fine. In my plans video, I did say that I was going to use the collar from the Evelyn dress pattern. When it came to it, it was a little bit more difficult to redraft that collar than I thought to fit the neckline of this blouse. So in the end, I decided to take the Peter Pan collar from the Sudley dress pattern, and I used that instead. And that's much easier to fit because it doesn't actually go all around the back of the neck. If you can see, if I hold this up, there are two kind of collar pieces that meet in the middle of the back of the neck. And that worked much better, and it was kind of easier to fit and adapt to this blouse than it would have been to try and kind of redraft the whole of an actual one-piece collar, if that makes sense. I used the Peter Pan collar part of the Sudley dress pattern, and I just had the collar pattern as it was, and then I drafted my own frill just from a rectangle of fabric and gathered it up and added it to the inside of the collar to just make this extra kind of frill around the collar. Making the frill did take a bit of trial and error. I did have to recut this kind of frill piece because I'd originally cut it a bit too narrow and there wasn't enough seam allowance. So yeah, a bit of trial and error just to get that right. I'm not sure if you can quite see from me holding it up, but I just need to, next time I make this, I just need to make sure that I finish that frill a little bit better, because on one of my frills I forgot to turn that seam to the inside just so that there wasn't any raw edges showing, but that's just a bit of trial and error, just trying to work out the hack and everything. And then on the inside I've just bias bound the neckline just to give it a really nice neat finish. So yeah, I'm so happy with how this turned out. I'm really pleased. I think it's pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. I'd really like to make this again. I've got some lovely Atelier Brunette viscose fabric which I've had in my stash for a little while, and I have my eye on it to make another version of this. I might make full length sleeves next time, just for sort of autumn winter time maybe. Yeah, really pleased with that, and I really enjoyed putting that together. I just set aside one Friday and I just kind of played around with the patterns, and I really kind of enjoyed working out all the changes and what I needed to do, and it was really fun to kind of put this hack together. Or I shouldn't really call it a hack, it's more of a pattern mashup actually of lots of different patterns, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's probably one of my favourite things to do, to just kind of mix up patterns and see what kind of result you get, and it's really fun to try and recreate things that you've been inspired by on the high street and things like that. So that was my third make, my frilly collar blouse hack. So the other thing I made in June was my Safiya Ogden cami kind of faux jumpsuit hack type thing. Not really sure what to call that, but in my inspiration video again, which I'll link below or pop up here or something so that you can pop over and watch that if you haven't already, I showed an image which I've been inspired to kind of put my own take on from Anthropology, but I really wanted to make something kind of based on this image, and I was going to use the Tilling the Buttons Safiya trousers to make a kind of similar pair of floral trousers to those in this picture. And this is the fabric that I used to make them. So it's this really lovely sunflower print fabric on a black background, which I picked up from Stoff and Still quite a while ago now, so I'm not sure if it will still be available, but I will look and try and link it below. So that's what I used for my Safiya trousers. I've made the Safiya trousers before and I cut them to culotte length, so I did that again this time. So if you can just see with me holding the leg up here, these come to around mid-calf on me, which is a much more flattering length I find than the full length Safiya trousers. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how these turned out. These are such a quick, speedy make. I absolutely love making these. They're really easy. There's no fitting involved. If you really want to make an easy pair of trousers, this is a great pattern to try because there's no fitting in there. The waist at the back is elasticated. The front is actually flat, which I think is a little bit more flattering than a full elasticated waist. But yeah, really quick, speedy sew. I had these cut out for about a week before I made them, and then I sewed them up one morning, and I think they took about an hour and a half to sew up. So they're really quick and speedy to sew up. And as always with all Tilly patterns, the instructions are amazing. So those are my Safiya trousers, and because I had so much fabric, I think I had about 2.5 meters of this sunflower print fabric, I decided to make myself an Ogden cami to go with these trousers so that I could wear them as a kind of faux jumpsuit type thing. So this is my Ogden cami, and just as a little kind of hack, I decided to add a frill to the cami straps, which I think has turned out really nicely. So the frill that I've used here is actually the frill from the Sew Over It shift dress pattern, which I've had for years and years. It's one of the first patterns I ever bought, I think. So I just used the cap frill sleeve from that pattern. I've just made it up according to the pattern instructions, and I've attached it to the underneath of the Ogden cami straps. So this was a little bit of a fiddly hack because you don't have a lot of room to manoeuvre with the Ogden cami straps. They're quite kind of skinny, aren't they? But what I did basically was to overlock the edge of the frill. I gathered it up and then I just literally sewed it to the underneath of the Ogden cami strap. So it's not the neatest finish. I think it would have been neater if I could somehow have attached the frill into the strap. So I need to have a think about that and see how I can actually maybe make that a bit neater if I do this hack again next time. But yeah, I don't think that's ever going to notice when you have it on. So the Ogden cami I just made up exactly according to the instructions. The only change I make to the Ogden cami every time is just to take 1 centimetre in from each end of the straps, just because I find that raises it up a little bit and it's not quite so low cut. If I make this top up without making that change, it is quite low cut, especially on the back. So just by taking out a little bit of the strap length, you just kind of raise it up a little bit. So that's a really easy change to make if you find the same, that this comes up a little bit low on you. So I do really like the Ogden cami pattern. I've made it quite a few times, but something about the sewing process I just don't really enjoy. And I'm not really sure quite why. I think it's because there's quite a lot of stay stitching in there. There's quite a lot of under stitching as well. And sometimes the whole process of making up this top just feels a little bit kind of mundane, but it might be because I've made it so many times, and that's nothing at all to do with the pattern. I absolutely love this pattern, and I've made many different versions of this Ogden cami. But yeah, I was thinking to myself when I was sewing this up, I'm not really enjoying the stay stitching and the under stitching and everything that's involved in this. But I just wonder why certain sewing tasks feel worse than others, because at the end of the day, it's all sewing seams, isn't it? So why are some things more boring than others? I don't like doing darts and things like that either. They always feel a bit of a pain, but I don't know why, because it's just all part of the sewing process and really it's all just sewing seams. So why are certain sewing tasks more boring than others? I don't know. Yeah, these are the things that I think about when I'm sewing, so let me know if you're the same. So overall, I'm so pleased with how this little set has turned out. I really like the fact that I can wear this top on its own with a pair of shorts or something, and I can wear the trousers on their own as well, just with a t-shirt or another Ogden cami or something like that. So I think that's a really nice idea. If you're not committed to the whole kind of jumpsuit thing, you can make a set like I have, and you can just swap the pieces around, and then you've got two separates, or you can wear them together as a kind of fake jumpsuit. I don't know what the weather's like where you are at the moment, but here in the UK it went really horrible and cold and wet and rainy again last week, so I've had to kind of put off wearing my summer things yet again. I really want some nice weather to come back so that I can actually wear some of these things, because I feel like we're kind of hurtling towards September already, and I don't want summer to be over. I have so many more summer dresses to wear. I'm terrible if the weather's kind of cold or dreary. I don't want to wear a dress. I want to wear something cosy. So yeah, come back sunshine please. I really need some nice weather so that I can wear these nice summer clothes. So speaking of cosy clothing, I managed to sew up one of my sweatshirts from my lovely Atelier Brunette sweatshirt in fabric. And here it is. This was a really lovely speedy sew, or it would have been. I did have a few problems making this, which I'll go into a bit more detail in a minute. But yeah, I went for the Jarrah sweatshirt in the end, with this really lovely soft and cozy Atelier Brunette sweatshirt in, which I absolutely love and I really enjoyed working with. It's so cozy. So this was the pattern I used for my sweatshirt. It's the Megan Nielsen Jarrah sweatshirt, which I've used quite a few times before, made many different versions. I love this pattern because it's a really kind of oversized boxy style, and I really like that in a sweatshirt. I like it to be kind of big and oversized and cozy. So I went for View A this time. Hopefully you can see that there on the camera. And I just made like a bog standard kind of sweatshirt this time. I didn't go for any of the fancy details like the tie waist or anything like that. So yeah, this is how it turned out, just a basic sweatshirt really. It has a kind of drop shoulder, and then the sleeve is just attached here on the armhole, and it's really easy to sew up because it's just straight seams really. I used the Atelier Brunette ribbing which matched this fabric perfectly so that I could just get a proper match. Because as I mentioned in my previous video, it's so hard to find the right colour ribbon when you're trying to match the sweatshirt in fabric. So this time I did actually invest in the proper ribbon, and I'm really pleased I did because it does match really lovely. Probably not a lot more to say about that really. It's just something that I really wanted in my wardrobe. I love sweatshirts, especially at this time of year when it gets a bit chilly in the evenings. I think this will be perfect because it's quite thin. I shared in my last video that I actually have the cream colourway of this as well, and I have the ribbon on order with Minerva. It actually went out of stock, but I think there's a bit of delay on sending that ribbon out, but I can't wait to get my other cream version made up as well. I think I'm going to go for a linden with the cream fabric just to kind of make it a little bit more different to this one, although I do like this really oversized boxy kind of Jarrah look, so we'll see. Oh yes, I forgot to say that this should have been a really quick sew. I think before I've made the Jarrah sweatshirt up in about an hour, but for some reason while I was making this, my overlocker kept deciding to break the thread, and I don't know why. I kept rethreading it and then it would break again, and then I would rethread it again. So yeah, I don't really know what was going on there. It's a bit unusual really for my overlocker. It doesn't normally play up like that. But it wasn't happy with something to do with this anyway, so I had to keep stopping to rethread the overlocker, which was a bit of a pain. So this did take me a little bit longer than it normally would have to sew up, but we got there in the end. So my last make was this t-shirt pattern, and this is the Beginner Kimono Tee by Sew Explicit Patterns. And just in case anyone corrects me, I did check the name of this pattern, and it is still called the Beginner Kimono Tee, and I know there's been some debate about calling patterns kimonos and things like that, but at the moment that's still what this pattern's called, so I'm calling it by its name at the moment. I'm not sure if there's any plans to change the name of that pattern at all or not. I had this given to me as part of a collaboration with Makerist where I tested their AR app. If you are interested in how I use that app, then I'll link the video down below. This is the second version that I've made of this t-shirt, and I really like this pattern. It's so quick and easy to sew up, and I think if you use a really lovely drapey pattern, it just turns out really nicely. So I had this cut out. I've had it cut out for about a month or over a month because I cut it out as part of the video that I was doing for them. And then I never actually got around to sewing it up, and it's just sat in my kind of to sew basket thing for a while. And yesterday while I had the machines out, I thought, oh, I'll just quickly sew that up. It should be a really quick and easy job. This fabric is a kind of polyester blend, I think, from John Lewis. It was a really cheap one again that I got in the sale from them. It feels really nice, but it has got that kind of man-made polyester-y feel to it. It'll probably go quite static, I think, pulling it on and off too much. And it was the slippiest fabric to work with ever. So once again, I thought to myself that it was going to be a quick make, and it took a little bit longer than I was expecting just because it was quite difficult to work with. But basically this pattern, it's sewn at the shoulder seams, and then it's sewn down the sides, and the armholes and the neckline are bias bound. I made my own bias binding from the same fabric because I think that looks nicer. You could use shop bought, of course, and then I just overlocked the hem and turned it up. The pattern does say that you can use the bias binding for the hem as well, but I didn't. I just overlocked and turned it up because I'll probably tuck this in most of the time anyway. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this actually as just an extra little summer top. I think it's really nice, and I like the patterns and the colours in this fabric, the red and pink together. It's really funny how red and pink has come back in fashion, isn't it? Because at one time you would never have red and pink together, but it actually looks really pretty, I think. I'm wondering actually if this would be suited to a kind of stable jersey as well. I think that would look really nice. So something I haven't tried yet actually for this pattern, but maybe I'll give that a go. But yeah, I think this would also look really nice as a crop t-shirt. I was going to crop this one actually because it is quite long and it has a lovely curved bottom. But this time I didn't because it was already cut out and everything. I thought I'd just keep the long curved hem this time, but I think it would look nice as a kind of cropped boxy style t-shirt. So yeah, I highly recommend this pattern, particularly if you're a beginner and you just want something quite simple to knock up in an hour or a couple of hours. So that's the beginner kimono tee by So Explicit Patterns, and I'll link it below. That's all of my makes for June. I feel really pleased with what I managed to get sewn up this month actually. I think my favourite is probably the Lyra, just because it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit with that collar and everything, and I just love that midi kind of style at the moment, so I'm really pleased with that. But I also love my frilly collar blouse hack, and I love my faux jumpsuit as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with what I managed to get made. So let me know in the comments below what you've been making. As always, I love it for inspiration and I love to talk to you about what you're making. I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely weekend, whatever you're up to. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please do give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'll hopefully be back next week with another video, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Bye!